welcome back to another episode of Author Interviews with Jasmine Prose. I'm your host, Sai, and today we're here with the lovely author Crystal Tollette. Okay, and she has a series. One is called Torn Apart by Love, and then the other one is called Torn Apart by Love: The Retrospective. Is that right, Ms. Tollette?
It's Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love, and then Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love: The Retrospective. Yes.
There we go. There we go. Okay, we love that. And then also I love to get started with the one second. Let me go here. The cover. Okay. So tell us about, and I have both of the covers here, guys. Okay. Tell us how you came up with the covers for these two books.
Well, so the first book is Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love. That's the one that has my face on it and the characters' faces. So I always knew that I didn't want the characters to have faces. Honestly, I wanted people to be able to picture whoever they wanted, in the description that I kind of gave, but more so personality-wise. I wanted them to be able to relate more on that than maybe what someone looked like. But as I was getting like the drawings back, like they had mannequin faces. And Michael looked weak as heck. He looked like he was ballroom dancing because I wanted him to like his arm to be stretching up to Skylar. But he just looked like he was ballroom dancing. Kim, she kind of looks scary now, but I did not like how she looked when she was coming back as well. And the reason why I ended up having a face is because I pretty much, in February of 2020, because this is literally when I, was reimagining the book cover. I was in Oakland visiting my family for my unsurprised 75th birthday. And I took a picture and I looked like my mom. And I was just like, oh, this should be the book cover. And I had a turban on. I don't know if you can tell, but on my head, I have, because my hair is like a blue-black. So I have like a black turban. So the turban represents my grandmother. And so it was kind of like I incorporated both my grandmother and my mom kind of into the book cover because it was on her sister's trip, my grandmother's sister's trip, that I reimagined the book cover. And then I just looked so much like my mom, and I was just like, this is it. So that's kind of how Skylar's face came how it was. And I had to just totally reimagine Michael because like I said, we had to go ahead and give him some texture and just go ahead and get him right. When it came to Kim, I literally wanted her face to be kind of like meshed into Michael's back. But when it kept coming back from the illustrator, that's just like the best I got. So I was like, it's fine. But I did want him to kind of be flexing because I wanted it to show that he was strong enough to kind of break that bond that he had with his ex-girlfriend, but he doesn't want to, right? So he's strong enough to do it. He just doesn't want to. So she has like those chain arms around him. I knew I definitely wanted that. And she has like a choker necklace on. It's a choker necklace with a broom. And so the broom represents the cleanup woman by Betty Wright. If you've ever heard that song, it's an old school song. Yeah, because Skylar kind of left room for Kim to kind of slide her way in, while she was off doing her. And so that's literally what the cleanup woman does. She comes in and does what you're not doing. That's how I came up with the book cover. It was a lot of things.
Wow. I love that. I love when authors put a lot of detail and thought and some symbolic things that are in the story on the cover. And then it's like after you read the book, you're like, oh, this is what she meant. Okay. And then what about the black heart with the lock?
So I actually did a poll with a lot of my close friends and family members because when I was re-releasing the book, because I released the original book in 2020, October 17th. This was during COVID. I didn't want to release it. I was like, I haven't done what I felt I needed to do in regards to marketing and blah, blah, blah. But my spirit urged me and was like, this is the date. You got to get it out of you. So when it came to the retrospective, which it's called the retrospective because it takes a look back on the characters. So you get to understand why they act the way they do in the first book because it gives you their whole background. I really had no vision. I was like, what can I do to make it kind of correlate with the first? But, I don't know. And I just
Yeah.
kept thinking of a heart and then just having those chains and having like that lock and key. That's really all I could think of. I just wanted it nice and simple. And so
Mhm.
I think it correlated with, with the first cover. That's all
Yeah.
I could do.
Yeah. Well, we want to definitely, because I think the book covers a lot of situations and themes when it comes to relationships and then like different situations that just happens, in love. But before we get into the goods, okay, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came about to become an author.
Okay, so ever since I was a kid, I used to love to read and write, right? I used to
Mhm.
write short stories with comedic twists, like horror, like scary stories with like comedic twists. I was like, I swear I did it first. And I had this little cute denim blue trapper keeper with this cute little pink heart on it. I used to just write all these stories. And I moved around, ended up moving around a lot as a kid. And so in one of the moves, like my trapper keeper was stolen and all my little stories and stuff. And
Oh,
life just kind of came at me pretty quickly and hard. And so I kind of lost my joy of like reading, but I used to love it. But I always knew that I was going to be an author, and I always knew that I wanted to self-publish. I wanted to be in control of my baby. I didn't want anyone coming in and changing my voice.
yeah.
So, yeah, so in 2000, which is when I graduated from high school, I had the title Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love, but I had no idea what it was going to be about. And
Mhm.
it wasn't until a couple of years later when I was in my dorm room at UTA, I was sleeping and dialogue just woke me up out of my sleep. And then I just started writing. And I heard the voices, I heard the conversations in my head. And that's kind of how the characters kind of came about. But I always knew I was going to be an author, just didn't know, what I was going to really write about. And so I just kind of had to let life and, just kind of guide me.
Yeah, I love that. That's usually, when those voices come to us guys as writers, it's just like we can't ignore it anymore. And it's like, you know what? Okay, let me just go ahead and start writing. So I think a lot of people that come on here, they say that as a child they kept the notebook. So it's just so interesting when I do these interviews to hear the similarities. I think it's
Mhm.
great. All right, so now let's get into the specifics of the book. And I guess, of course, we'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love. I have like two different versions that I kind of give when I'm describing it. One's kind
Okay.
of a deep version and one is not. So the deep version is it's a flawless what did I say? About how we're naturally attracted to people in relationships that aren't good for us and the roles our insecurities play in shaping those relationships. That's like the deep
Oh. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's the
mm-hmm.
deep version that I typically give every now and
Yeah,
then. But it
yeah.
is a nostalgic dramedy set in the early 2000s that follows the lives of two best friends, Michael Walker and Skylar James. They have both fallen for each other, and Skylar's ready to confess her love to Michael, but he low-key shuns her intentions. So she goes and finds refuge in the arms of another man. And while she's off doing her and being loved on properly, Michael spins the block in his feelings, causing all this emotional chaos. And then in the midst of that, his ex-girlfriend Kim walks back into the picture. So then it's just like a roller coaster ride of unbelievable back and forth.
Wow. Wow. It sounds very realistic. Because there's so much that happens, in some people's relationships.
Like that, the retrospective, which I know we'll talk about, but that kind of sparked a lot of things that happened in the chapter moments in time. And I think it sparked the entire series.
What was, if you had a challenging part about writing the book? Did you have a part of the book where you was like, this is kind of hard, whether it be like putting it into words or emotionally?
Are we talking about either one of the books or the first?
Yeah,
Okay.
either one.
So for the first book, Bonded by Hate, Torn Apart by Love. So literally, I write backwards. So I wrote the beginning and I wrote the end because it just flowed. God just gave me everything I needed. But then when it came to bridging the two together, since I write backwards, it was hard. Because like I had a friend who loves reading and she would reread things, and she would read my series the first book as I was going along, and she was just like, for the characters Gina and Nico, she was like, they need more depth, like there needs to be other story, they need to have a storyline basically. And I guess during that time I was going through kind of a period of spiritual awakening, I guess, during that time. And so once she stated that to me, I started to kind of think, and I was like, okay. So then I was able to kind of pull from what I was experiencing during that time, and then I was able to kind of bridge it together. But that was hard for me because it flowed so effortlessly, right? In the second book, the retrospective, that was really, really hard because the first two chapters, because the second book is broken down into 3 chapters with subchapters, right? So we have a love lost, you give me a feeling, in moments in time. A love lost and you give me a feeling were actually let me think. No, a love lost and you give me a feeling, I had to make those up. But moments in time, which is the third one, that's my actual diary. So that was actually supposed to be a part of the first book, but I never referenced back. So it just didn't make sense to have it in there. So I just took it out. So coming up with a love lost and you give me a feeling was very hard, because in a love lost, I had to show the toxicity that Michael dealt with his ex-girlfriend, Kim. So you could understand why he had such pause when it came to exploring his feelings for Skylar. So I don't do toxicity. Like if you start to show me any kind of sign, my cutoff game is really, really good. So I don't stay around often to see what's going to happen next. So that was hard for me. Now, I did date this guy in 2019 who was a little off. And so I was able to kind of pull from some of the experiences I had with him, but that didn't last long. Like we literally dated for less than 45 days because of, but I was able to pull from that. And then with You Give Me a Feeling, it was still kind of hard. I mean, it was really challenging. I don't know how I pulled through. It was like tooth and nail. Some nights or pulling teeth. It was some nights it would come very easily. And then others I just be like, Lord, like, why? But I needed to get it together. And I think in A Love Lost, what got better for me with writing was when I brought Nico, which is Michael's older brother, into the mix. I was struggling before that. I just could not think of anything. But once I brought him in and I started to kind of show their relationship as siblings and that wisdom that Nico kind of has, and that the banter that they have, it got easy for me. And then that kind of transferred over into You Give Me a Feeling, because Nico was all in the mix of that. He was like in almost every scene. So he was my inspiration. He's my favorite character. He's just funny and messy. He's a free spirit. Yeah. So that's how that happened.
I love that. And when it comes to developing your characters, so before you start writing, do you have like a notebook or something where you create like character profiles, or do the things just come to you as you're writing?
They come to me. I need to have a system. I don't have one. I need to have a system because I'm so free with it. You know what I mean? I need to learn how to color within the lines a little bit, right? It is good. I think so, just a little. It is good to write the characters down. And I think when it's a little bit more complex, when you have a lot of different worlds that you're creating, and you're maybe going to have a future series, it's definitely good to kind of write that down. I feel like every character has a piece of me. It just kind of depends on what friend group I'm in. You know what I mean? Like who I am to them in the group. Sometimes I am the wisdom speaking. Sometimes I am just the funny person, or the free spirit. Let's have a good time. It just depends. I really don't, know. But I try to, but I just don't stick to it normally.
I mean, there's different, that's why I asked, because there's different methods, and that's why I like to do the show, because I like to hear from other people and what their process is like. But whatever, if it worked, clearly you got 2 books out, so it works for you. So
Yeah.
if it ain't broke, don't break it.
Right.
So what is your writing process like, though? How, like, do you have a strict writing process? Or you said you're a free spirit, but clearly you got 2 books done. So what is your writing process like?
So I write out of order. I just write whatever comes to me, and I date everything. I date it and I title it, right? So that as I am pulling the book together, I can go and grab this page and be like, okay, well, this can come first, then this can come after, blah, blah, blah. I don't type. I write everything down, pen to pad, right? That I learned that from back in the day when you used to have, because when I started writing these books, I was typing on the computer and we had floppy disks back then and they were getting encrypted, mess you all up. So I'm pen to pad. Yeah, I'm pen to pad, and then I type it up. And then I may make changes here and there, and then I'm just like kind of saving everything. But yeah, I date everything, and I just write a scene. I go a scene at a time, and it could be in order, it could be out of order. Just whatever I'm inspired to write at that moment is what I end up writing.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm working on a book, and I'm kind of on draft number 2. And now I'm like kind of having flashback scenes. So I'm kind of doing that, like you said, kind of just doing the flashbacks, dating it, and then putting it where it needs to go in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think dating it. Yeah, I think dating it is really, really good.
Yeah. Let's see. Now, you already said you wanted to go the self-publishing route. Why did you want to go the self-publishing route versus the traditional route? For the people out there who are still debating, like, which route to go.
Well, back then, I don't know. I just always was like, I don't want anyone. You hear the horror stories of people signing over their rights, and then people just do whatever with their stories. And I'm not in it, just to have a big payout or anything. Like, this is my purpose. And you have to be a little controlling over that. Like, it's good to collaborate and all of that. But for me, that's what I was most concerned about. I didn't want them taking all the money, all the royalties, and I didn't want them changing my voice. And so that was 20 something years ago, right? Now it's so easy for people to independently do anything that they want to do. And I put it off for so long, but when I discovered I discovered, because it was going to go gray. When I discovered how easy it was, but I didn't discover how easy it was until I started going through the process. I used to let what could happen and lack of this and lack of that keep me, from my purpose. That's why in October of 2020, my spirit, like in February, I set the date. And it was like, you just got to work towards it. It is what it is. You got to get this book out of you, because I've been sitting on it for so many years, Yeah.
Well, we're glad that you did get it out. It can be hard, guys, getting the book out. And then a lot of the times people are like, once they actually started writing, it was like a breeze. So I think it's more so just getting started.
Yeah, it's asking questions whenever you're like, I'm telling you, once I look back and realize like, oh, that wasn't really that hard. I mean, I went through a few editors, but when you talk to the different people that you need to help you create the book, just ask them questions, ask the same questions, because all of them have different gems and may elaborate a little bit more than the next person did. And that's how I was discovering, like, the first editor helped me out. I ended up with the third and fourth editors helped me out, and so that way, every time you get on a call, you just get more empowered, because you like know what you're talking about and you know the right questions to ask. But it was all the people who helped me create the printer, the editor, all of these people, they helped me with getting the book together.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think it takes having a village is good, and a community of just support to get you that inspiration to get to the finish line. So I love that. I love Facebook. That's probably how I got you on here is Facebook. There's a group, and I
Mm-hmm.
love that group. It's so inspirational. Um, so you've given little gems, but if you could give advice to an author who now you I will say romance. Let's stick to the topic of romance because your book is romance. If they want to get into the genre of romance, what advice would you give them?
We'll get into the genre. I would say, huh,
Because romance is
I'm
big
gonna
right now.
answer as far as is trying to build your audience because that's what's most important. Because you can just start
Mhm.
writing romance just to
Yeah,
you can start writing whatever it is that you want to write. It's the audience. Once you get this book done, who are you gonna sell the book to? And so that's something I
absolutely.
still struggle with. It's because I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be so right, and then when I get to the editing process, it's just so hard. Now I can do cute little
Yeah,
videos and everything, but when it comes to promoting the book, it's so hard for me. And what I have found is that book talk is real, but it's real, but and it's easier for you to get people to listen to you if you are talking about other people's books. If you're reading other people's books and giving reviews, it's like it's easier to build your followers than if you just come in saying like that you're an author. It's kind of weird. That's been my experience. It might not be other people's experiences, but people also like to be a part of your journey, right? So you got to start from just the struggle of, oh my gosh, I need to write today. I'm writing a book, but I just don't know what to do. That kind
yeah,
of stuff. Simple
yeah,
stuff. And in saying this, it's encouraging myself because it's stuff that I do. I have a ton of things in my drafts. I just haven't posted. But I
yeah.
didn't start with the where I was. I waited to
Mhm.
try to make things perfect. And so here I am, right? But I've
Yeah.
sold some books on social
TikTok.
media.
Okay. All right.
I've sold more, through word of mouth and not necessarily on those platforms, but just to even get anybody to believe in you on one of those platforms is like an amazing, amazing thing.
Yeah.
So I would say document your journey. Every single thing is content. People say it all
Yeah.
the time, and it's just you got to post daily and you got to post across the board, all social media channels, because you don't know where you're really gonna, find
Yeah.
your tribe. But I think that's just most important is just finding your people who are your community. I think that's
Yeah.
the most important thing to break into any genre that you want to be in.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, guys. These are all great tips. I think with social media, finding your audience, yes. Now I had Omar Tyree on here, guys, like a while back. Okay, that video is up now. He was really dropping gems. Now he had actually a different kind of ideology about social media because he's from back in the day. Okay, he wrote Fly Girl and 31 other books. But he was saying like get back into radio ads, get back into like mainstream media because we're missing out on a large group of people that don't use social media. And then also, so getting things like news, going on news stations, and then having a niche. He wasn't really a fan of having a niche because he's like, I want everyone to read my book, not just
Mm-hmm.
a certain group. So I think
Mm-hmm.
there's room to test that out. But I will say with social media, like for example, I feel like with your topic, specifically for your book, oh my God, I feel like people would love that. People love when you talk about the topics of your book and then you pitch your book in. So like the whole topic of can men and women be friends? I don't know if you've done a post about that before, but I feel like if you make a post about that and then you be like, well, guys, I have a book about that, I think that will bring a lot of people in because that is a debate that people love. People love that debate of can men and women be friends. And then using you were talking about using other people's books, but a lot of times I've seen people use news articles or just anything really, other situations, and anything related to your book, guys, and then kind of bring your book in that way, because people are going to start talking. So I've done that. Even before the book I have out now, well, that I'm working on now, I had a little girls brand, and I built my following by posting about things about the book, not the actual book, but about the book. And then I got a lot of sales off of Instagram. So this was back in like 2012. Okay, so now I'm kind of rebooting. So I would say yes, building your audience is definitely important. But also getting into other methods of advertising as well.
I'll say one other thing
Yeah.
before we get off that topic. Social media, I feel like, yeah, doing the ads and all that, and then just also posting and trying to build organically, because that's like super kind of affordable, but also doing different vendor markets. You know, that was something I was very intentional about this year. I'm like, okay, Lord, I am going to work as many markets as I can to promote these books, and you are gonna just let it do what it's supposed to do. I'm doing my part, right? Faith without works is dead. So you got to put forth the effort. And I don't know if I even thought about what they cost to go to these markets, but now that I'm doing them, they're so affordable. Like, they're affordable, and you'll figure out which markets are better for you and are not. Like, everyone buys my books. It's not just one ethnicity or whatever. And that was a box that someone was trying to kind of put me in. Well, your audience is going to be this. And I'm like, well, why? Everybody falls in love, and everybody, you know, a lot of people have had best friends or friends in a group that they've fallen for and have gone through all this. Love is universal. Heartbreak is universal. No matter what you look like, you know? And when I go to these markets, it's everyone, you know what I mean, are buying my book series. So, and I like that they don't see, just like how I didn't want people to see color. I wanted my books to be like Michael Jackson, how people do not see color when you hear his music. It's like, that's Michael Jackson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't hear color. You don't hear whatever. You just vibe.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, let me see where this going with
music.
But yes, okay. But yes, okay. And that's so true. And I'm always like, wow, like, he had fans of all races, and still to this day. So that is, that has to be studied. It has to be studied. But yes, guys, be careful with the niches and the target audiences, because you could be missing out on some fans, that love your work. Yeah. I feel like it is time for trivia, guys. Okay, so we're gonna have a few little trivia question. Okay, so Miss Collette, we're gonna have you pick a number from 1 through 4.
2.
2. Okay, all right, let's see. Question number 2. Okay. Would you rather see your characters in museums or in memes?
Memes.
That was so quick. Memes. Okay. Yeah. Why not museums?
I feel like their personalities, the things that they go through in the books, it's like perfect for all these memes that people put out daily, and memes stand the test of time. You know what I mean? Like, they get rotated for years.
Yeah. That's true. That is true. That is so true.
If they're on the internet, they're there. So
they
can always get switched out of museums,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, so what do you have next in store that you want to share? If you have a project that's next that you want to share with our audience?
Well, I have a lot kind of going on. I'm trying to kind of fine tune things. I do have a 3rd book that I will be releasing, but it will be probably late May of next year. We'll just kind of see, but that's going to be a romantic suspense. And so I'm super excited for that. I am currently working on like a home buyer. I'm a real estate agent and a romance author, and my brand is real estate and romance. So I am working on a home buyer motivational workbook for people looking to invest in real estate, whether it's with their first home or second home, whatever the case may be. So I am working on that. I hope to release that by the end of the year. And I am also working on book merch. I feel
Oh,
like, yes, I have a product line that I am working on. And so that hopefully will be released probably by November as well. Working pretty strong on that. Don't
okay,
have the
that's cool.
name quite yet
Yeah.
to say out loud, but yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really really cute. A lot of people are coming out with book merch right now. I think Omar Tyree, he came out with a line too. So many people, but I love that because especially in romance, you guys have like diehard fans. Like they really love your characters. They really love just everything. So we love that. So go ahead and tell us, okay, where can they get the book, and when it's time to get the merch, where can they get all of this stuff from?
So my books are sold exclusively on my website, realestateandromance.com. That's where you can learn about me as a real estate agent and, of course, as a romance author. And across my social media handles with the same name, Real Estate and Romance. That's where we're sold exclusively for now. I am working on a few things getting put into
Mhm.
some libraries and a couple of independent bookstores. So we have some things coming, but for now, realestateandromance.com.
Okay, we love that. Well, guys, head on over there. Okay, we'll have the links in the description so you can just click and go there. And then also, yeah, you said your handles are also real estate and romance as well. So make sure you guys follow her. Okay, well, we absolutely thank you for stopping by, Miss Tollette. And you're welcome back anytime. Definitely when you get that suspense, because I love suspense. Okay, when you get that book, you're welcome back to come and tell us, and the real estate guy, because I'm definitely gonna cop that because I need that. And guys, if you are in need of that as well, that's another reason you want to follow and stay tuned. Okay. Well, guys, we thank you for stopping by, Miss Colette, once again. And then, guys, we thank you for tuning in to another episode of Author Interviews with Jazz and Prose. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome to the channel.